To accept the Western version of Hawaiian history is to choose ignorance. The story is full of contradictions, mutually exclusive ideas that cannot coexist together, and the confusion starts right at European contact. Captain Cook did not discover savages on new volcanic islands. The Hawaiian Kingdom descends from a primary civilization, like Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, Olmec, or China. Our development rose in the vast water continent, Moananuiakea, where the islands are temples, stones hold counsel, and the winds carry the voices of our ancestors. Captain Cook was killed by a wise sovereign nation that refused encroachment and gave no quarter to thieves of freedom. There were no pilgrims here, no Puritans, no buckle hats, no colonial mythology. That story belongs somewhere else entirely. November 28th is La Kūʻokoʻa, Hawaiian Independence Day. On this day in 1843, France and England are marched into the Cosmic Principal's office by Kauikeauli. There, they are faced with their own violence and violations of law. They sign the declaration recognizing Hawaii as a sovereign nation, not out of a courtesy, but because the truth was undeniable. Hawaii was operating on a higher spiritual and political frequency than either empire could comprehend. The Western debt trap had failed. The United States learned this firsthand. They record an attempt to use military threats to enforce payment of sandalwood debt, beating their chests, screaming gunboat diplomacy, Jones Treaty. Not only had they just signed for Hawaiian sovereignty, because you don't ask an inferior, you sign with a partner. In Article 2, they ask for Hawaiian naval protection, and they're paid off in less than 15 years. That's way too fast for the U.S. to manufacture unreasonable claims on the Pearl of the Pacific. We'll unpack this later. Just know Hawaiian Kingdom was the only fiscally solvent and sovereign nation on Earth, and 1843's the receipt. By the mid-1800s, Hawaiian Kingdom was exercising its influence on the continents. Hawaiians mastered Western commerce. They became the richest kingdom of its size anywhere on Earth. And by the end of this series, it'll be clear the kingdom was never backwards, never savage, never simple. It was a thriving, coveted economic power that foreign interest would have to steal. So what's the real story then? What is Uncle talking about? Let's follow the money. This is a crash course in the history of Hawaiian Kingdom economics. It starts with foreigners who arrive after months at sea. They show up desperate, hungry, dehydrated, sick, and exhausted. It's with them that the kingdom's first major industry begins: provision. The 4 island kingdoms observe Captain Cook's arrival. His men are fragile. They do not come ashore as conquerors. They stagger in as survivors. Their bodies are weak. Their supplies are gone. And they smell as though they've been living inside of a wet sock for months. Our ancestors fed them, and we received their diseases in return. A tragic exchange rate by any measure. The only thing Hawaiians wanted from these newcomers was firearms and gunpowder. The foreigners quickly learned a rule that kept them alive. Never arrive in Hawaii after February. The season of Kū is 4 months long, and if you came with treachery, you would not leave. As more ships arrived, the provision economy ignites. It became the most successful trade system in the Pacific because Hawaiians understood a truth the Western powers forgot. Abundance is a discipline, a spiritual technology, not the artificial abundance of debt and extraction, but the abundance that emerges from living in a right relationship with the Aina. Kamehameha enforced this truth with clarity. Food for firearms, nothing else. The 4 kingdoms enter into an arms race. Arsenals grew, powder stores expanded, and Kamehameha eventually obtains the recipe to gunpowder itself. Provisioning became the kingdom's first powerhouse industry. Food and water, victual, a lifeline that kept foreign sailors alive, This continues well into the 1860s. Europeans and Americans arrive sick, starving, vitamin deficient, and soft. The king of Hawaii recognizes the exploitative opportunity and adapts. As Kamehameha unified the islands, he upgrades shipyards, he repairs vessels, studies their construction, and he begins building his own. You want to survive? Give us the guns, and we'll feed you. You want to trade? Give us the guns. These terms displease you? You're free to leave, hungry. Hawaiians had no need for Western goods, no longing for Western culture, but commerce, that was a language we already spoke. Provision production rose across the windward sides, where mist meets the land and food becomes inevitable. As foreign preferences appear, Hawaiians adjust with ease, adding potatoes, squash, and onions to existing fields. These additions complemented an already massive functioning food system. On the leeward sides, the dryland staples grew: uala, papaya, mango, maia. The windward side fed the trade, leeward side fed the island. Abundance and balance. By late 1794, only 3 independent kingdoms remain. The system does not strain under pressure. It expands. More ships means more food. More demand means more production. More trade means more power. And by 1795, Kamehameha had taken Oahu and secured Honolulu Harbor. For the first time, he begins accepting silver and gold, which begins flowing into the kingdom. Hawaii shows the newcomers the rest of the world and sets the global stage to become the richest little kingdom on earth. Now that's a really fancy way of saying a world power. Kamehameha understands a universal law. Sustenance is the root of stability. A hungry man is dangerous. A nourished man becomes a scholar. And in the Hawaiian civilization, the warrior and the scholar live in the same body. This is why Kanakas appear savage in colonial descriptions, because truth looks wild when surrounded by lies. The great king begins retrofitting Honolulu Harbor for a new commodity being requested across the Pacific by opium dealers trying to expand profits and launder money. It's sandalwood. And now we close episode 1 with this truth. Hawaiians were masters of agriculture and commerce because they were a primary civilization possessing the wisdom of all things Moananuiakea. Food for firearms drove the centralization of power as the 4 kingdoms federate. What followed was not collapse. It was augmentation, expansion, unification. Kamehameha the Great builds a nation that commands a price for survival in the age of sail. Food, fuel, and shipyards. The real story is just beginning.